If you want to make a career in cost accounting or management accounting, then there's two courses out there that you've probably heard of. The first one is the US CMA, the second one is the Indian CMA. Now, often a deciding factor for students becomes how difficult are these exams, right? Students always want a course that's relatively easier to clear, that you can clear quickly. So, in today's video, I'm going to help answer this question: which exam is more difficult? And post that, I hope you can leave this video with some clarity. Hi guys, I'm Rushil. I'm a deputy team lead with the academics team at Zell Education. And at Zell, we've trained hundreds and thousands of candidates in the last 7 years. A lot of our students have gone on to hold world ranks in their respective subjects. So if you want to know more about these subjects or you want one-to-one counseling, please feel free to get in touch with us and we will assist you with anything that you may need. Okay, now the topic at hand, right? Which exam is more difficult? So, before I answer this question, the difficulty level of any examination comes down to your preparation, how thoroughly you've practiced the questions, how many times you've read the textbook, and of course, your readiness in general to appear for these exams. But it is important for us to understand the course structure. So, I'm going to explain the US CMA course structure first. It's relatively simple. There's just two exams that you need to pass. Part 1 has 6 subjects, Part 2 has 6 subjects. Part 1 mainly focuses on accounting, cost accounting at that. Part 2 mainly focuses on finance and financial management. It's called strategic financial management. You give each part separately, of course, and you give 6 subjects within the part together. The US CMA exam happens 3 times a year: January and February, May and June, September and October. So, depending on when you start studying, you can probably go and write your exam in the very next attempt. Due to the nature of this examination, which is mainly MCQ based, followed by essay based questions where you need to give your opinions, calculate a few numbers and such, a lot of students actually enjoy writing this exam. Also, the fact that there's no negative marking when it comes to the US CMA makes it a relatively easier exam to crack. I've mentioned this in videos before, but if you're someone who judges the difficulty of exams based on whether they're MCQ or not, well, if that is the case, then the US CMA is the perfect course for you. Okay, moving on from that, the pass rate, the global average pass rate for the US CMA exam. Part 1 is slightly lower than Part 2. It's anywhere between 40 to 45%. Part 2 is around 50%, meaning 4 to 5 students globally, regardless of their background, regardless of their educational qualifications, end up clearing this course. And at Zell, this pass rate further jumps up to 75%, meaning 7 to 8 out of 10 students who study the US CMA course with Zell Education end up clearing this examination. Alright, now coming to the Indian CMA. The Indian CMA is very similar to the Indian Chartered Accountant course, where it's basically split into 3 levels. There's a foundation level that you need to write, followed by your inter-level. Post that, you have to do a mandatory articleship, and after that, you get to write your final level, which means on average, it'll take you around 3 to 4, if not 5 years to complete the Indian CMA course. The pass rate for the Indian CMA exam is anywhere between 10 to 15%, meaning just 1 or 2 students out of 10 who write this exam end up passing this exam. Now, why is it that the pass rates are relatively lower for the Indian CMA? To answer that, first, let us understand what the curriculum entails. The US CMA curriculum covers all aspects of cost and management accounting and finance, like I mentioned earlier. The Indian CMA also explores these subjects, but they have a few added subjects such as federal law, taxation, and a few elements of audit, making it a slightly more difficult exam to pass. In the US CMA, there's just 2 exams split into 12 modules, like I mentioned earlier. The Indian CMA, on the other hand, has a group system, and you need to study for approximately 20 subjects, making it a more difficult exam to pass. Also, the exam structure of the US CMA is such that it's relatively easier to pass, whereas when you look at the Indian CMA, the exam type, the structure of the exam is objective and descriptive. Now, students will often struggle with the descriptive aspect of the Indian CMA, which is why students generally tend to go with the US CMA. Another point that has added to the pass rate of the US CMA are the sorts of study publishers that publish content for the US CMA. You have publishing houses that were established centuries ago, like Becker, Wiley, Gleim, Surgeon, Hawk, you name it. They have their own set of books, extensive question banks for the US CMA. This sort of a service is not readily available for the Indian CMA, making it a more difficult exam to crack. And after that, the scope, I've covered it in a separate video. If you want to watch that, you can click on the I button and you can watch that video. If I've left any questions that you may have unanswered in today's video, please make sure you leave them in the comments below so we can get back to you. And as mentioned, the number for you to reach us is in the description box below. So please feel free to reach us. We'll help you out. Thank you so much for watching.